The 2010 Bacchus OSL round of 16 is on the way in a few days, so I figured I'd give you an overview of the tournament, tell you a little bit how it works, and an overview of all the players in each of the 4 groups. First of all, if you haven't encountered an OSL round of 16 before, or you forget how it works, this is how it works. It is a round-robin format. There are 4 players in each of the 4 groups, and every player in each group plays every other player in the same group. The 2 players with the most wins are the ones who move into the round of 8. This system does allow for tiebreakers, so expect them. Now, let's take a look at the map pool. Now, strangely enough, this is the first OSL I've ever casted that did not have a 2-player map. We have 2 4-player maps and 2 3-player maps. All of the maps are fairly Zerg favored, some more than others, but expect the other 2 races to adapt, especially to these brand new ones, Gladiator and Pathfinder, OSL exclusive maps. Expect the other 2 races to adapt to these as we continue on through the round of 16. Okay, let's take a look at the groups. For about the 3rd season in a row, the round of 16 is strong. And we have pretty good race distribution. We have 7 Zerg, 4 Protoss, and 5 Terran. That's pretty even. And once again, I don't really think there's a group of death this time around. You're going to have to come up with your own group of death this season, just like you did last season. I don't think this will be a particularly tough group for Flash to get out of. Of course, Flash, always the huge favorite in these tournaments. I mean, you can pretty much bank on him getting to the finals from this point on. So yes, I have no doubt that Flash is going to make it out of the group. The second player is a bit tougher to call, though. It's hard to tell how Hyuk will do against the other 2 Protoss players. He is very cheesy and ZVP. Not sure if he's going to bring out that same level of play in the round of 16, though. Cal is inconsistent. We haven't seen enough of Paralyze to really call him Royal Rotor potential. I've seen a few games from him. He plays great, but no telling how he's going to adjust to the new pressure of being on the big stage playing all these S-class and A-class players. For my second pick to get out of this group, I'm going to go with the safe and predictable Cal. Cal is a spectacular player, when he remembers to be anyway. That brings us to Group B, the Zergy group. Jaedong heads up this group, which has one of his teammates in it, Hiya, so that's not going to be a fun matchup for those 2 guys. And the group is filled out by 2 other Zergs, HoGiL and Calm. Jaedong still spectacular in Zerg vs. Zerg. Of course, Calm won a Zerg vs. Zerg final in the MSL, and HoGiL just won a Zerg vs. Zerg in the round of 36 against 0. So I'd say Jaedong has a challenge ahead of him. ZVZ is a very unpredictable matchup, plus he's going up against one of his own teammates. Those matchups are always the most unpredictable because the teammates know each other's play so well. They don't need to gather replays or anything. They can just go through their own personal archive for those. But I still have to pick Jaedong as a favorite to move out of the group. Now, you're probably expecting me to pick Calm for the second pick, but I just can't do that. Not with Hiya here. He's a wascally wabbit. No telling what Hiya is going to do. He's good versus Zerg, and he always comes up with really weird strategies. Hiya is the new go-go in that regard. He doesn't care what he does as long as he gets the win. So I'm going to pick the Hwaseon's guys to move out of Group B, Hiya and Jaedong. Now, Group C is Stork's group. Stork was in the semifinals from last season, so he heads up this group. And I think it'll be a fairly tough group for him. I don't think he'll have much problem with Mind. Of course, I might be eating my hat about that later. But he's faced off against Shine before in the round of 8, I think it was, of the Ever OSL. Lost by 1 game, so Shine, he's great versus Protoss. So I think he'll give Stork another run for his money. Not to mention C. I mean, Stork is so fantastic against Terran, but C is C. C is excellent. I mean, not so much an individual league play, but he could definitely just turn that around anytime he wants. Stork did beat C last season, but that doesn't mean he can do it again. I gotta go with my heart and pick Stork to move out of Group C as my first choice. And the second choice is very difficult between Shine and C. Shine is very consistently good. Not so much versus Terran, but he's still a good all-around player. C, on the other hand, not as consistent. But I do think he can outperform Shine when he wants to. But still, I'm going to have to go with consistency for consistency's sake. Stork and Shine move out of Group C. Okay, Group D. This is Modesty's first round of 16, and he has kind of the unfortunate position of going against three very tough players. Hydra's been improving a lot. I just watched a recent Zerg versus Terran with him. I forget the Terran he played, but he used a Queen build to fight off a mech build, and it actually worked with Broodlings. So I'm very interested to see what he comes up with next. First game against Fantasy, but Fantasy is kind of an enigma these days. He should be doing better than he is, and who knows, maybe he can turn that around in this OSL. I know there's some Fantasy fans out there who are always cheering for him to get to the finals in these things, and are always let down, at least after the Batu OSL. So I hope Fantasy moves up. But Free is an incredibly strong player who gets better by the day, so I have to pick Free as my first choice, moving out of Group D. I thought the second choice was going to be difficult between Hydra and Fantasy, but the more I think about it, I gotta go with Fantasy. I mean, he just has the experience, he knows how to handle both Modesty and Hydra, and maybe even Free. So, those are my choices for the round of 8 from this group, Fantasy and Free. And there you have it. That is your round of 16. Be sure to leave your predictions about who you think is going to win. Write a little something about your favorite player, about one of the matchups that are coming up, because I do read predictions in my commentaries. So be sure to write down yours. The round of 16 will be starting in just a few days, and I will be all over it. I want to cast every game from here until the finals now. Let's hope my VOD sources and the Brood War gods are feeling helpful in that regard. Well, this is Nuke. I will see you guys soon for the Bacchus OSL round of 16.